The moment has arrived, ladies and gentlemen, for his induction into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. Please welcome to the stage, Mark Murphy.
On behalf of the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, Inc., and Packer fans everywhere, I present you with this Hall of Fame ring in bronze football. These represent your contributions to the Green Bay Packers and your induction to the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. Now let's unveil your bronze football. Please have all seat. Get mine out of the way.
Thank you, Don. Well, I tell you, I am just so honored. Well, first of all, most importantly, I want to thank the Packers Hall of Fame for this. This really is an incredible honor. I'm extremely humbled, and I want to thank the entire board. I think most people know the Packers Hall of Fame Incorporated is separate from the Packers, but we've established a great working relationship, and really honored to be here. I do want to give special thanks to Sam Pluck, Tom Conop, and Perry Kidder. Perry has been my personal guide today, getting all around everything, and really have appreciated it. But just want to thank them for their great leadership. I also do want to recognize the other people that have been honored today. Ted, Pepper Burris, Mark Wagner. Had the good fortune of working with both Pepper and Mark. Pepper, just a phenomenal person, great career, and obviously you can see the passion that he has for it. Mark Wagner was a member of our leadership team, and it was instrumental, and really enjoyed working with him. I know that I can't name all of you who have helped me get to this position and helped me not only with my time with the Packers, but also over the years. But if you are here, you have meant a lot to me in my career. The two women have been instrumental to me in my career. First, I want to recognize and thank my wife, Lori. Like Pepper, we have been married for 46 years. We've been together for over 50. Just tell a quick story. So we both went to Colgate University. I was a junior, and she was a sophomore, and we had never met each other. And I played on the baseball team, but for some reason our spring break trip canceled. So I was free to be able to go down to Florida. And the car that a friend of mine and I were going to be in broke down. So I went to the Coop at Colgate, which is the dining hall. And actually, they did this. People trusted other people to drive with them. I looked at the board and said, oh, here's a car going down to Florida. Lori happened to be in that same car. So we spent about 16 hours together in the car, and we've been together ever since. Lori and I were married at Colgate. And obviously, been through a lot. We lived in the D.C. area for many years when I was playing, and then after my career, and then moved to Hamilton, New York, and where Colgate University is located, and that's really where we raised our family. And that was something that was really important for us, to be able to raise our children in a small town college environment, and was really special. Lori and I have been through so many ups and downs, and I just can't imagine a better partner. I know she's going to get mad at me for saying this. In the position that I am in, a lot of people kiss my ass. I mean, excuse me, I should say, a lot of people tell me what they think I want to hear. Lori tells me what I need to hear. I'm sorry, Lori, but I had to. You've always tell me the truth. The other woman I want to recognize is my mother, 97-year-old Nancy, or Nanu as she is known. Stand up, Mom. She's an amazing woman. As I said, 97 years old, and she's sharp as a tack. So and I think we mentioned that I grew up in Houston. We moved to Clarence, New York, Buffalo suburb, and a number of people from Clarence are here. How about a round of applause for all the Clarence? So, and lived in Houston from 2nd grade through 9th, and Buffalo and Clarence, New York's a great suburb of Buffalo, and really welcomed me there, and finished my last 3 years of high school there. Really enjoyed it. You know, throughout my whole life, I always thought my father was the one who was really the big football fan. Turns out it was actually my mother. She lives down in the Tampa area in Dunedin, Florida, and she goes to a Packer bar every Sunday and watches the Packers games. The varsity club. She is treated like royalty there. They reserve a seat for her. She normally will call me after games, and often I'll get questions like, "Mark, what are you going to do about the offensive line?" It's like, Mom, we know what we're doing. But I do want to share one story. When 6-7 years ago, we were in the middle of the coaching search for a head coach. And now there's a little bit of a discrepancy here. My mother takes all the credit for this, for the hire. But she did call me early on in the search, and she said, "You know, Mark, I hear really good things about Matt LaFleur." And then she said, "And he's quite handsome." So, you take joint pride in the great success that you've had, Matt. I do want to mention my father. Brian mentioned Big Murph. My whole life, I was Little Murph. He was really a larger-than-life character. He left high school, to serve in the Army in World War II. Came back and he played college football at St. Bonaventure. Yes, St. Bonaventure had a football team back then. He was an offensive tackle. He went on to have a long career in labor relations and ended up working for a steel company in the Buffalo area. I have vivid memories of walking through the steel plant with him, and it seemed as though everybody in the plant knew him, and everybody came up to him, and it was really very eye-opening. And it's one of the main reasons that once I got in the NFL, I became very actively involved in the union. Also, no one else wanted to be the player rep. Back when I was a player rep for the Redskins, they used to say that it was kind of like smoking. It's not good for your health. But I'll share a quick story about Jack Kent Cook, who was the owner of the Redskins when I was a player there. Great businessman. But when we were in 1982, I'll talk a little bit about it. That was we were getting ready for a possible strike. And the Redskins had what they called the welcome back luncheon right at the end of training camp. When you came back to Washington, D.C., you had a big luncheon. And we were right on the eve of a potential strike. And Jack Kent Cook introduced me and said, "Mark is a communist," which I didn't really take well. And he said, "Mark Murphy is a fine young man, but I do not want him as a partner." So that was kind of the attitude. And the irony now is, of course, the players are partners, and they're getting a percentage of the revenue. So it's been great to see the difference there. You know, one of the big regrets in my life is that my father was never able to make it up to Green Bay to watch a game at Lambeau Field. Huge football fan. One of the great moments of a real special moment with my father, I don't know how, some way, in Pasadena when we won the Super Bowl 17, he made it into the locker room. So to be able to share that with him. So when I started with the Packers, it was at the end of the 2007 season. And I talked to my father and my mother, and I said, listen, you know, we've got a couple playoff games coming up. You've got to come up. You would love Lambeau Field. And, you know, they looked at it and said, you know, the weather's not great. You know, we've got, you know, just kind of logistically, it's going to be difficult. Let's just wait, and we'll come up in September. Well, unfortunately, my father ended up dying of brain cancer that summer and was never able to make it to Lambeau Field. But my father, and Brian mentioned, my father had what he called his pearls of wisdom. And they were things like, you know, don't burn bridges, build them, don't sweat the small stuff. And he would say them all the time. And when I was young, I was always like, you know, Dad, I just thought it's so corny, you know, why are you saying all those things? But as I've gone through my life, they really ring true. And it really, as I look back on it, my father he would never wear pearls, and you don't think of him having a lot of wisdom, but there was a lot of wisdom in that. And so as a tribute to my father, I have a new pearl. Don't let logistics get in the way of spending special time with family and friends. I think there's a lot to be said there. Speaking of family, I also want to recognize my sister, Jo Ellen. Jo Ellen, as I mentioned, phenomenal artist, had a long career with the Washington Post as a medical illustrator, still an artist. I got none of the artist genes. I cannot even do stick figures. But she still lives in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm glad you all had a chance to hear from my son, Brian. Obviously, he's got a great sense of humor, and he wouldn't mention this, he ended up, he had a great college football career. He was a wide receiver and played at Amherst College, and has gone on to have a great business career. He's an entrepreneur. He started his own hard seltzer company and has done great things. So I'm just so proud of him and the other children. I think we can all agree most of the credit goes to Laurie. You know, what you did, and just tremendous. By the way, and I want to recognize my other children, Katie, who's in the Chicago area. And where's Katie? Katie, you're the best athlete in the family, including me. Division I basketball player, and she's gone on and had a great career, and she's using the lessons that she learned from her athletics participation in her career. So she's really doing great things. Our daughter Emily, state champion, Hamilton High School girls basketball, girls soccer. She and her family live up in Door County, and it's just such a blessing to have them there. And Emily is responsible for one of the very best things that the Green Bay Packers did during my tenure here. She was working for a company called Blue State Digital, and they created Packers Everywhere. I don't know how many of you have done it. Yeah, they're toasting it. It really highlights what's so special about the Packers. So here's the basic concept on Packers Everywhere. Our fans are everywhere. And if you're traveling and you want to watch a Packer game with other Packer fans, put in the zip code and every Packers bar shows up in that area. And we have pep rallies, and it's really been phenomenal. I want to share a story. So when we started Packers Everywhere, I wasn't really sure how that worked. I'm not really savvy with the social media, but I thought it would be really good, and so we decided to do it. I think it was 2009, and we had a playoff game on the road at Arizona. And so there was a bar out in the country in Arizona, and I wasn't sure if there'd be 10 people there, 15 people there. And I'll never forget pulling up in the bus, literally thousands of people lined all the way around the entire bar, and it's just been a tremendous program. And actually, Jerry Jones, probably one of the best businessmen in all of the NFL, came up to me one day and said, "Tell me a little bit about this Packers Everywhere program. I'm kind of interested in that." So that is a tribute to Emily and our youngest daughter, Anna. She lives in L.A. About to have our 7th grandchild, so excited about that. Anna she's an executive coach in L.A. and just doing great things. I do want to share a story about Anna. This goes back to, when the Packers were searching for the new president in 2007, she was a junior in high school down in Evanston. She was the only one left at home. And the offer had come from the Packers, and so she was a high school junior, and she shows how mature she is. She came up to me and said, "Dad, this is an unbelievable opportunity. You have to take this job." So that is Anna. She's always been so mature. You know, it's really hard to believe that I've worked for 18 years, almost 18 years with the Packers. Thought I'd talk a little bit, excuse me. I do want to also recognize a couple other people that have been really special to us. First of all, our foster daughter, Susan Parody. Susan, stand up. And her cousin, yes, Evelyn Calderon. They have been integral members of our family. They're great members of our family. So my first experience at Lambeau Field, 1983, Washington Redskins were defending Super Bowl champions. We come in and we play the Packers on Monday Night Football. It's a crazy game, back and forth, 48-47. I remember what a tremendous atmosphere there was and what a great crowd there was. It was not a good night to be a safety named Mark Murphy. The score was, there were two safeties named Mark Murphy for both teams, and we gave up 48. The score was 48-47. Probably the best Packers win in the 1980s, and Mark Mosley missed a 37-yard field goal that would have won the game for the Redskins. That's what I remember. You know, I mentioned just also in terms of the Redskins, just wanted to tell a quick story to kind of my introduction to the NFL and the Redskins. So it was in 1977. I was a senior at Colgate, obviously a football powerhouse. You're all familiar with the Colgate. So back then the draft was held 12 rounds over 2 days. And first day of the draft, I didn't know, I didn't have an agent, I didn't know if I would get drafted or not, but I thought that there was a chance I'd get drafted. So the first day of the draft, I get a call from George Allen, head coach of the Washington Redskins. And he says, "Mark, we really like you, we're gonna fly you down, and we're gonna draft you." And I was in heaven. The Washington Redskins gonna draft me. So fly down, thinking maybe I'll get drafted later that night, but so it ended. And they put me in a car, and so we flew into Dulles Airport, and they put me in a car, and then the next day they got me up early in the morning, and we drove all the way into Washington, D.C. It's about an hour, and I thought, well, this is really nice, but I'm going to get drafted. What's going on? So, make a long story short, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they pull in the Redskins facility. And George Allen calls me into his office, and he says, "Mark, the draft just ended. You weren't drafted. Here's the contract. Why don't you take a minute, read through it, and sign it?" And then he turns to his assistant and said, "If Mark doesn't sign it, let's get that safety from Oklahoma we like so much." So despite that, I really liked playing for George Allen. He was a brilliant defensive coach. So just in a kind of a small world, go fast forward, 30, 40 years, and one of the people that I really have been working closely with is George's son, Bruce Allen. And so, just out of curiosity, I went up to him once and I said, Bruce, did your father ever tell you what he did to me on the day of the draft? And he looked at me and said, quick complaint, it worked out all right for you. I mentioned 2007. That was a great year for the Packers, and that was when the search was going forward. And at the time, I was the athletic director at Northwestern University, and I got a call from Jed Hughes, who was an executive with the executive search firm at the time, Spencer Stewart, and he called and he said, listen, Mark, I want to know if you'd be interested in the Packers president and CEO position. And it didn't take me long to say, absolutely. But I also thought to myself, yeah, nothing's going to happen there. And I had been at Northwestern about 4.5, almost 5 years. Wasn't really looking to leave, but I did think it was a long shot. But I did say I would be interested. As the search went along, I really looked like I was a pretty serious candidate. And was really, really taken aback when Pete Platten, who was the kind of running and chairing the search, called me up and said, Mark, we want to offer you the position of President and CEO of the Packers. So willing, so humbled and excited about the opportunity that Pete and the organization was willing to take a chance on me. And so I'm starting at the end of the 2007 season. I don't know if you remember, Packers, made the playoffs, won the division. We're hosting the NFC Championship game. So I'm like 2 weeks into the job, and I'm thinking, we're going to the Super Bowl. This is unbelievable. Well, as most of you know, that the NFL can be cruel. So we ended up losing to the Giants in overtime. And then, shortly after the season, about 2 or 3, maybe a month or so later, I get a call from Brett Favre. And I didn't really know Brett well. And so he announced his retirement. And so right away we started thinking, all right, we're going to retire his number. We're going to invite him back. We're going to have a big event at the start of the season. and then we installed backup quarterback Aaron Rodgers as a starter. But then in June, I get a call from Brett Favre, and he says, I got an itch. And I didn't really know him well. And I said, well, are there some things we can get to help you get rid of the itch? No, he said, I'm itching to play. And I said, but we had already moved forward with Aaron Rodgers as the starter. So that first month and after that was crazy. We had our annual tailgate tour where we went on the tour. And by the way, is Kathy Dworak here? She does a phenomenal job. Where's Kathy? And putting together the tailgate tour and working with all of our alumni. So we're on our tailgate tour. We're going across the state. Every single school, we would stop in elementary schools. We go to schools. We do all different places. Dozens of reporters every place. What do you think about Favre? So it was kind of we called it the summer of Favre, and it was a trial by fire. But it was a really difficult time. But I think it really forced us all to work together, and I think it really laid the groundwork for the Super Bowl that we would win a few years later. Give a lot of credit to Ted Thompson, Mike McCarthy, and Russ Ball. I think it really laid the foundation. I do want to give special thanks to Russ Ball. I think he's kind of an unsung hero within the organization. He and I started within a month of each other, and he has been integral in terms of that Super Bowl championship, and he continues to be a key for us today. So I did want to recognize Russ Ball. I also learned a very valuable lesson, and that's if you're going to replace, if you're going to replace a legendary Hall of Fame quarterback, it's really good to have Aaron Rodgers to replace him, who is also a legendary Hall of Fame quarterback. Winning Super Bowl 45 was obviously one of the highlights of my time here. I was also very proud of the consistent success that we've had. I think in the 17 years, 13 playoff berths, 8 in a row, which is a Packers record. It's hard to win in the NFL, and it's hard to win consistently. So also very proud of Lambeau Field. It's such an iconic stadium, and what I think we're most proud of is we've added the modern amenities that people expect when they come to games, NFL games, without taking away what makes Lambeau Field special. The other thing, I'm so proud of Titletown. You mentioned Ed policy was instrumental in terms of Titletown. I think that's been a tremendous addition for the community. So proud, and a couple things I would say there. I've obviously been retired for a couple weeks now, and I was in Titletown the other day, and it was packed. And I was like, what's going on? I think there was a concert, but there's always events, and over 1 million people a year come in, and it's just phenomenal. I am reminded a little bit, though, of the Yogi Berra line about his favorite restaurant. It's too crowded there, nobody goes there anymore. But people still go to Titletown, and it's been tremendous. And Ed, I think you'll agree with me, I have not had a single person come up to me and say, why did you get rid of the Kmart? One of my real regrets is that we were not able to make it back to a Super Bowl under the current leadership of Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, and Russ Ball. We were so close so many times, but as I look to the future, I think the team is really well positioned for the future. I think great leadership, obviously with Brian and Matt and Russ, and also I think Ed Policy will do an excellent job as president. Ed, I'm not going to say this to compliment myself, but you have big shoes to fill because I have size 15s. So, and as you look forward, 2 and I believe now 3 years in a row, we have the youngest team in the league. I think I've heard a lot of people say, well, is that really a good thing? And I say, well, it's a young man's game. And young players get better as they continue to go. So I really excited about the future of the Packers. I think they should get better and better going forward. Packers do want to talk a little bit about the unique structure that we have with there's no other team in all of United States professional sports that's run the same way we are, with our board, with the executive committee, and I think it's really serves us well in tremendous leadership. And I've been so thankful. I mentioned some of the great people that I've been able to work for, leaders of the executive committee: Pete Platten, Larry Wires, Tom Olson, Susan Finko, and now Mike Zimmer. I learned so much from them. And then also, and tremendous businessmen and women. And internally, the Packers, I really feel like we've got so many great employees. We have a leadership structure within where there's a leadership team. It's about 20 employees, and then a senior staff of about 8. That's the vice presidents and directors. Tremendous culture at the Packers, and I think that's something we're all very proud of. And I think we've grown as an organization, but I think the culture has remained very strong, and that's a tribute to the entire organization, but particularly to Nicole Ledvina, the Vice President of Human Resources. Where's Nicole? Nicole, stand up. I know you're here. She's very humble. She also was instrumental in overseeing the strategic planning process, which I think has really served us well over the last few years. Also, I would be very remiss if I did not mention 3 special people that were really crucial for me and the organization. My executive assistants, Margaret Myers, who was not able to make it here tonight, but Pat Scott and Lisa Kaiser have been a godsend to me. You know, much has been said about the draft and hosting the draft. I tell you, I couldn't be more proud of the organization. It's really something, you know, once the league started to take the draft on the road, we raised our hand early and said, what about Green Bay? And I think once the league stopped laughing, we were like, no, we're serious. We want to host the draft. And so I give the league a lot of credit. They really took a chance because we were by far the smallest market to host a draft. And you saw, obviously, it was tremendous. And I think we will see the benefits of this for many, many years to come. They recognize a number of people, but I do want to give special mention to Gabrielle Dow, who really headed that effort of terms of planning and everything that went forward with the draft. So Gabrielle, thank you very much. It really, it was like a 3-day commercial for Green Bay and Wisconsin. And you know, the last though, I do want to give special mention. And you heard some of the comments before, but our fans really are pretty special. And I want all of you to know, I'm assuming everybody here is a Packer fan. I hope we didn't sneak any Lions or Bears fans in. But we will never, I'm still talking as though I work for the Packers. They will never take you for granted. And you are really, truly special. And some of my favorite moments working for the Packers where we'd be playing on the road and we'd be ahead in the fourth quarter and our fans would take over the stadium. And it's pretty special. Not many teams do that. All right, go Pack, go. All right, that's not very enthusiastic. One more try. All right, go Pack, go. All right. The one thing that I do think sets our fans apart from the other fans is that they have a vested interest in the team and the organization. So many of our fans are owners. I think we have, 560,000 shareholders, and they really have a much stronger tie to the team than you see, other fans of teams, and it really does make a difference. Finally, and in closing, I want to thank you all so much, and to thank you particularly the Packers Hall of Fame for bestowing this tremendous honor on me, and thanks to all of you who have helped me along the way. Thanks again.